Hello and welcome to the Business of Betting podcast. Today I'm joined by Gugabed. Gugabed, thanks for coming on. Before we get into this episode, make sure you follow us on Twitter, @bettingpod, and check out the website, businessofbetting.com. Guest suggestions are much appreciated. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Betfair Proprietary Limited. Betfair operates a betting exchange and is licensed in the Northern Territory of Australia. Residents of Australia can join Betfair by visiting betfair.com.au and support this podcast by using promo code BOBPOD. Please gamble responsibly. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode of the Business of Betting podcast. Today I'm joined by Gugabed. Gugabed, thanks for coming on.
Hey mate, how's it going?
Very well, very well. This is a topic and area that I am probably not as familiar with as others, so I'm certainly looking forward to chatting with you today and talking a little bit about MMA and esports potentially and some other stuff. So tell us a little bit about your background and experience in this space.
MMA-wise, this is a bit embarrassing, but honestly I probably got into the sport about 10 years ago. UFC Undisputed, one was I think $5 in the discount bin for PlayStation 3. And as a result, just sort of kept rolling into the area. It kept rolling into the area. Was losing better for the first year or two, but who isn't? And I just kept pushing on. I've done a fair bit of it myself, and live action, jiu-jitsu and that sort of stuff. So that context, and just sort of slowly built up my bankroll, built up my expertise over time. It's it's an interesting space because really it's probably one of the last unquanted areas, I guess. End of the day, it's a cage fight, two guys into a cage. It's a lot harder to gauge that when there's a lot of other sports. And so esports wise, there's less so these days because I feel the market's gotten a lot better in the last year or two because just natural influence because League of Legends and all that was in its infancy. But we've got there was great opportunity there, and really it just shows that the easy money is usually in the areas that books are either raw at or just cannot leverage their significant quantitative advantages. You
could have picked Aussie rules, cricket, tennis, basketball, anything. Is there a simple answer as to why you honed in on MMA and esports and more niche areas?
I've got some quant background, but I'm not the best modeler, and I think things like AFL and NFL and cricket have just essentially had a lot of the opportunities juiced out of them by just quants.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Data analysis rules the world. We're talking sport the good thing about UFC is that you just have a bunch of unknowns. We get guys who fight in the UFC where you've got 6 minutes of footage 6 minutes of shitty footage of them on YouTube, and they're making a debut in the UFC. Well, it's guys in tennis and AFL and all that, everybody who goes into an AFL game is a known quantity on some level. Nobody is popping into it. Nobody's playing for Collingwood off 12 minutes of footage. It's apart from say even those those American transplants, maybe, but even those everybody has been thoroughly integrated into the system. How often are you really, really surprised by players in the AFL? Not that much, because everybody is known from the age of 13 onwards. These days with cameras and all that, the athletic development trajectory is just so much. It's so stratified. You know things, but everybody comes in. Well, MMA and esports less so now, but previously in the past. It's Game of Thrones season, so chaos is the ladder, and that's the main thing of UFC. It's one of the few markets where you've got real chaos and still decent limits.
So do you think it's a help or a hindrance if you were doing taekwondo and karate and jiu-jitsu and other disciplines growing up, or do you think it's one of those things that doesn't necessarily matter too much for MMA?
I do know people who are successful who've got essentially no background, but I do think it definitely gives you a lot of context. Because a lot of these fights, how you're evaluating fights, is just judgment calls. And if you've got first-hand experience in these positions, it's a lot easier to evaluate them. Again, it helps you with, there are a lot of grey areas, and the more personal experience you've got, the easier it is to evaluate them in those terms. That's really, I suppose, the space. I think it goes to most sports. I mean, I think tennis and all that, it really helps to be able to understand what good service games like, what good rallying games like, and put yourself in the shoes of the athletes. You're talking about a lot of sports where it comes down to a very 1v1 qualitative space, and yeah, it gives you an advantage. So yeah, I've been training that sort of stuff for about 10 years, and I think it's probably paid off dividends in my betting returns. But yeah, I don't think that's everything.
Yeah. So take us through your approach then. Like when you see the card come out, take us through what's running through your head, and in terms of turning a profit on this sport or this card. How do you go about dissecting it all?
There's a, as I say, UFC's got quite a major range in cards. Like say this Sunday, you got UFC on ESPN plus 7 in St. Petersburg. About half the card is debutants, so we know not much about them. So in this case, I've essentially been going through sketchy Russian YouTube and watching footage of people who have been fighting against nobodies and nothing organizations, and trying to make conclusions based on how they go in those fights, which is probably my area of advantage. Like, so I've got a funny statistic. I've got about 40% ROI on non-pay-per-view cards and a 2% ROI on pay-per-view cards, which is a fairly staggering difference, but I think it shows you really how much money you can make just from paying attention to the lower levels. That's really what I think my edge is. In this case, yeah, I'll just go by. I'll look at the prices, go by feel, see what, if anything, immediately sticks out to me. If so, do my tape. Usually not even that deep. They're usually not deep a dig unless I'm really feeling it. Confirm my internal confirmation bias, I guess. Just buy into that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's a lot. It's probably a lot more based on feel than the majority of gambling strategies. It's worked for me because I feel like my sense for it's done better than the most analytic strategies. My staking is quite. Yeah, my staking is pretty much you just 1 to 5 scale units, but yeah, even that's fairly ad hoc. It just really just comes off feel. Yeah, I've started using a lot more quantitative direction in how I evaluate fights. Even that's just more to find things which are undervalued by the markets. There's a lot of interesting facets in that area too. Stuff like if a fighter is shorter than his opponent yet has longer arms, if you've taken every guy following that criteria for the last 10 years, you'd have made a 9% ROI, which is insane. Just if you just blind bet everybody.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So how do you... So like fighting is, there's the human instinct, human feeling. If you're watching a fight, one of the things that's interesting to me in commentary is like any sport, whether it's ice hockey, whether it's any contact sport, commentators or those dissecting will say, "Oh, they've come out aggressive," let's say, or whatever that means. And does that mean that the players are remonstrating with the other players? Does that mean they're scoring a lot? Does that sometimes they talk about things in a very general, weird commentary-like way. In fighting, can you, if someone comes out aggressive to Floyd Mayweather, that's probably a bad thing because he's probably going to find a way to counterpunch and beat you. Is it similar in mixed martial arts where you have to have an eye for watching it and know what you're looking for, and coming out aggressive can be an awful thing or a very good thing?
Again, it depends on the fight, it depends on the win condition. Like a lot of times you look at guys coming out aggressive who might not have the best chin or might have shitty gas tanks, and you're going, well, he's just turned this fight into a binary. He either finishes in 3 minutes or he's fucked, like Conor McGregor's career for the most part. If you go 100-0, unless you're an athletic freak, you're gonna gas. So you're just trying to, and if you're an underdog a lot of time, guys will come out aggressive because they're just trying to force a brawl. They're trying to take as much of the skill elements out as possible and just trying to make it this pure binary 50-50. Which makes sense if you're a big underdog. It's not, it's like, in basketball. I'm sure you've followed some basketball.
Yep.
Yeah, full court press and those sorts of tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Where you just go, fuck it, we're not going to beat you in skill, we're going to beat you on conditioning. And it's the same for a lot of sports. Rugby got a lot of the grinding, rucking tactics. People say the same thing about it. We're just trying to get in their faces, gas them out, and simplify the game as much as possible. Yeah, that's how you end up with rugby league. It's such a wide. It's such a broad church. Like, there'll be guys who, if I see them coming out aggressive, I'll immediately go, "Oh fuck, that's a terrible decision." But there'll be plenty of guys who, if they are going out aggressive, I'll be happy because it's what they're playing the win condition. Like, really, that's the way I tend to cap things. I just tend to look at the fight, think, what do I think the three most likely outcomes are here in like specific terms, assign arbitrary percentages to each of them, and then just and then just cap off that based on what props and MLs I can get and money lines I can get. It's probably the best way of, I guess, looking at the fight scientifically. Because the issue with UFC is once again is because there's so much chaos. Guys have short careers. Your longest UFC career is 6.5 hours of actual cage time, which is, grand scheme of things. We know more about an AFL player after what, 8 games.
Yep.
So really, even, you're seeing a guy for 15 minutes every 4 months. If this guy's a particularly busy fighter and goes to long decisions, so there isn't a huge data set to really draw off. So you're really just trying to work on broad, overarching themes of his game and just getting a feel for what It's more of a science of getting the I guess bullet points right and really digging deep. I know guys will try digging deep into every sort of micron of footage they can get, but it just doesn't really work because there's so much of it's context based. Everybody's got plans to get punched in the mouth, and also a lot of what you're watching is based on very idiosyncratic circumstances. You don't know what injuries people are carrying. You don't know what the guys' camps are like. You don't know all sorts of shit. And as a result, it's just you have to sort of create a broad understanding of the guy's game and simplify it. I guess keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, so tell me about the data space. People have probably seen, boxing for a number of years where they'll have the amount of punches, and Manny Pacquiao would always have a couple hundred more every round almost. So what about MMA? What's the base data set like that's available? And then on the analytics side, are there any sort of advanced analytics? Like you mentioned before, they're a shorter fighter but longer arms. Do you sometimes have to create your own in this space?
I can plug one of my favourite sites. BetMMA.tips is this very good calculator which sort of helps you get it just does basic regression and correlation of on things like the ape index and that sort of stuff. Really, as far as advanced stats concerned, just aren't really many. Some people live and die by the rate stats, which is stuff like strikes thrown per minute, strikes landed per minute, takedown accuracy, that sort of stuff. But it's very apples to oranges a lot of the time. I personally tend to focus more on measurables, and there are definitely a bunch of biases in the space. The books seem to love undefeated fighters regardless of who they fought. Momentum gets overrated a lot of the time. So analytics-wise, I just usually run through. I've got this very broad data set last 10 years, and I've used it to tease out just a bunch of interesting correlations and regressions, which show things which have been classically underrated in the betting space. There is a ton of, not to say easy money, but there are a ton of interesting, profitable correlations in UFC. Like if you hit everybody between plus 110 and plus 150 for the last 8 years or so, you would have made about 7% a year.
Why do you think that is?
I think more chaos in there. I just think it's a very hard sport to cap. Like I feel bad for the bookmakers here because I was like, if I had to like sit down and make a line to every single fight, I would be fucked. I'm able to only pick the 25% of ones I like, and I can make a decent profit. But I just think that, and also the sport's quite vulnerable to casual money pushing around the lines. The lines are a lot more volatile than you'd see in pretty much any amount of major sport. Like even this card, I just have a quick look. The guy go from an undercard fighter went from plus 153 to minus 125 on about 3 hours of steam last night. You don't see that much. You don't see that happening much on a week-old market. So that sort of stuff just catches everybody on side. Like you make this very easy money arbing the Australian bookmakers in particular, which it's just because they're slow and lazy. Which is good on them.
So, tell me about the non-pay-per-view stuff. 40% ROI is not a number to sneeze at. Yeah. How do you feel about that? How do you think about that? Do you think you're leaving cash on the table, or is that betting the absolute max you can possibly bet? Or do you think about, if there are some fights that you leave out because you think the numbers are right, that you may need to look at those again? How do you philosophically think about that type of result and what you can do in the future?
There's a lot of volatility there, to be honest. So I've got like let me check how big my sample size. My sample size is about 1,000 bets, so I feel like I'm in a decent space. I'm in a decently consistent space, and it's really fluctuation. That's a fairly staggering difference. I think the main opportunity is just particularly the lower level cards, is just seeing things that other people are too lazy to see. You dig into sort of YouTube, anything like that. You can usually get a lot more footage on foreign fighters you think that you'd have, and off that you can, develop information asymmetry. It's quite rare in more mature sports. A casual punter in his bedroom can get into information asymmetry over the books. Imagine it's like imagine if the form, or imagine if somebody on their bed in the bedroom could just like pick up 3 times as much footage of horse races and that sort of stuff, or just through being diligent. It's an information gap which you just don't see in mature spaces.
So take us through the betting markets then. What are they coming out 3, 4, 5, 6 days before for? Let's just pick the 10 fight card, arbitrary number, or is it you got to wait pretty close to fight time? Are there 10, 15 different outs you can get? Tell us a little bit about the betting markets generally.
It depends really, because you've got at the moment you've got full card odds for, or the May 4th card has just released the full card odds, so it's about the standard timeline. It's about 2 weeks. 5 Dimes usually works as a market maker for this sport in particular. I'm not sure why that's the case, but they just seem to have taken over the space, which is good on them. As a result, they usually trickle onto Australian books over the course of 2-3 days, depending on the card, because championship fights and that sort of area will tend to have odds, weeks if not months in advance. So if Conor McGregor was fighting, you'd have odds for it now, trust me. Because a lot of the time it depends on how big a handle they can get. Stuff like, your Aussie, Alex Volkanovski's next fight, they've had odds out for that for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally think Volkanovski's gonna get killed, but I like the dude. I want a top level Australian fighter. Whitaker's fucking incredible. But it really just depends on demand. I'm sure the volume for UFC prelims must be a loss. It must be probably losing money for a lot of books, because there's not a huge volume, and most people betting them are quite sharp, I'd say. Compared to it's like NBA regular season. There's just a lot. There's enough sharps in the space that it's just hard to make money as a book. You're not really getting very few casuals are getting up in the morning going, oh fuck yes, I get to bet on Ganzirumad Antigulov versus Michal Oleksijuk at 2 a.m. on a Sunday. It's just it's hard to handicap, and it's probably just the volume's not worth it. Which is why I imagine why it's quite sloppy. There's quite sloppy bookmaking. Is
there volatility in the championship fights, or is it a little bit more efficient and starts off at a bit better point?
Depends on the fight. Usually they're a bit closer because there's a lot more there's a lot more knowns in championship fights. Most people fighting the championship coming off a fair bit of they're obviously coming off a fair bit of performance, coming off a decent data space and all that. It depends on the championship fight, depends what news is coming out in the background, depends what the space is like. Something like the Volkanovski fight has flipped the Volkanovski started as an underdog, became favourite, went to underdog again, went to favourite again, went to now and is now seen as an underdog, which is not especially unusual for a high visibility fight. Conor McGregor fights will tend to just pick a direction, but I suppose they're massive. They're probably a massive profit draw leader for the books. So of course not going to be quite as messy with the bookmaking. Again, it's a very volatile space. Probably the easy way to make it's probably one of the easy ones to make money in, because there's just a lot of chaos.
And will you bet every fight on the card generally, or a vast majority?
With my $5 fun bets, I'll bet every fight, because it's just I feel it's a good luck thing. With serious money, probably about 20 to 40%. Yeah, I have this sort of superstition, I guess. I must have something in every fight, but that would usually mean $5. It would just be because I feel like it increases my investment, improves my ability to retain memory of what the fuck just happened. I just feel like I can usually recall losing $5 on something more than I can recall watching something happen.
That's interesting.
It heightens the focus.
And what about the upper limit of the market? What numbers are we talking about generally, from championship fights through, the middle of the card to the prelims or the previews?
I try to think if I really, really wanted to get on, just say a prelim fight this prelim fight this weekend. If I really want to get on, I think about 30 grand to win. Main event probably about 60, 70. The Conor McGregor fight, you probably get on for $1 million if you wanted to. Conor McGregor or Rousey is fighting 1 million. Championship fights really depends how big the champion is and how certain the outcome is. Like it's really just follows the popularity curve. At the end of the day, it's all going to be based on how much of a handle books can take off you. In my case, you'd have to talk about. I've got New Zealand citizenship, so I've got access to Pinnacle and that sort of stuff, so it helps a lot. If you're in the Aussie market, it'd be fucked. So it'd probably be like to get on a few grand if you really pulled out for stops, unless it was a championship fight.
And what are the options? Is it corporates only?
Betfair's your Betfair's like your obviously exchange. Got lower liquidity, but it's still got MMA markets. Corporates are around. Obviously the difficulty getting corporates is everyone knows difficulties dealing with corporates, particularly when you're winning consistently on a low margin obscure sport. I don't think I'm a best friend to a lot of corporates. I'm sure if listening to this podcast, you know what a deal is there. Exchanges aren't great for this. Pinnacle's probably my best option to get real money on. I haven't got access to 5 dimes. I lack appropriate citizenships, which is a pity. But broker services do exist. And the good thing is because 5 dimes tends to lead the market rather than vice versa, you can usually get decent money on across Australian side without really bending the market. Because at the end of the day, Australians are sort of obliged to keep up with whatever the Americans are doing, or they're sort of more follower than leaders.
And what about in play? I don't know if it exists where you are today, but if it does, how is it? And I would imagine it's probably something that would be popular, in between rounds, for example, especially the major fights where there's a lot of pay-per-view, there's probably a lot of recreational interest, and also the sharps are probably circling as well.
Oh, obviously we all know the difficulties of the Australian in play. Having to call up Dazza at wherever in Northern Territory and asking for a bet can be quite fraught when you've only got minutes to get it on. Compared to because between rounds or something, 365 only opens up props between rounds, but if the Australian got called up, you've got to get in touch with it. You've got to get your bet in really a 40-second window, which is not fun. It really depends on where you are on the card too. Like for the average fight night card, you probably see full in-play markets for the top, say 6-7 fights. Early prelims don't tend to carry them. They'll carry them overseas. No Heritage, 5 dimes offers them, but not so much over here. It's really and there's good money in in-play betting in this space. You have to again. It really comes down to understanding what you're watching, and it's a sport with a lot of information and asymmetries, which is really the advantage. It's just understanding chaos and passing it. I've picked up some absolute ridiculous deals in the past, and I've just sort of kept on trying to keep abreast of in-play markets. Particularly because judging can be all over the place. So not frequently, but you occasionally get these markets where you got someone who's about to win the fight trading at 8-1, because the book's made a judgment call on the decision, and they've got whoever's doing live odds has gone. Oh, I think Bob's up 2-0. It turns out Bill's up 2-0. That's when you're getting the real. I would not want that job. Because even if you're the best judge personally, you're still dealing with the opinions of other people. That'd be the issue, because it's not even like you can be as good. He can be the line maker can be as good at his job as he wants to be, but he's still sort of hinging on the judgment calls of judges, not even his own judgment calls, which is just ridiculous.
Yep. No, and it's not. You don't have to go back too far to find shocks in boxing or MMA where it might have gone the other direction. So I'm guessing it's a very thankless task.
Yeah, it would not be an easy job. I'm a fan of whoever does it. He gives me money, but I also feel bad for him, and in the sense he's doing a very hard job.
The Betfair exchange isn't a house that sets the odds. It's betting at its purest. One punter's opinion against another's. Play the game within the game at betfair.com.au. Gamble responsibly.
So do you only bet on who you think's going to win, or are you betting how they're going to win, which round? Tell me about the different offerings that are out there and how you attack them.
Limits a lot higher on the straight up to win markets, because it is how it is. Over under is probably the next biggest prop, which is usually they'll pick a line in the sand in the given round and say, do you think the fight's going to go over or under this amount of time? So if I've got over under 1.5, that means that I'm betting on the fight to end or not to end inside the first 7.5 minutes. That's probably the next side one in terms of getting liquidity. Then you just go down and there's plenty of exotic props on MMA. So sports bet will ever usually offer about 20 markets in any given fight, which is enough to knock yourself out with. Obviously, the more niche they are, and the easier they are to reward, the quicker the title limits are. But it's a corporate bookmaker; they're making money. It's their job. As far as that's concerned, you got strong diversity. There's all sorts of interesting ways of playing things, getting off like soft arbs, even hard arbs, because people aren't quite all working together. There's a lot of slowness involved and just shitty bookmaking within the Australian corporate space, which wouldn't surprise anybody, but particularly in MMA. And really just take what you can. Conor McGregor fights again usually tend to be a good one because people will just flood the market with all sorts of garbage props, and there's usually just some free value there. I've always felt that even look at stuff like Game of Thrones. If there's interest and it's a subject the books don't traditionally cover, there's usually free value.
So tell me about the distribution of results in terms of, you've talked a lot about the chaos nature of the sport. Does that mean that there's a wider distribution in your mind of things that can happen, or is it almost the opposite where you're like, you know what, this is the only way I see this going, or there's only a number of different scenarios that this plays out?
It depends on the fight once again. Sometimes there's a very obvious conclusion. Other times it's just like, what the fuck, these guys are idiots. I'm not sure how much of the sport you watch. Did you watch that last Cody Garbrandt fight?
No.
Fair enough. Unfortunate, but essentially, Cody Garbrandt is a legendary idiot, and he just tends to swing when he gets frustrated. He got frustrated and he swung, and I was going, all right, that's pretty much what we expect to happen, but it's an inherently volatile proposition. On the other hand, it depends on the fight. There's so many levels to the sport, there's so many weight classes, there's all sorts of stuff. It's like boxing line's a lot less volatile because boxing is a lot more predictable because at the end of the day, on multiple reasons, like you got boxing is a lot older as a sport, so there's a lot less shock and what the fuck was that? So, you tend to know what's happening in boxing. Guys coming from more stratified existing channels become great boxers. By the time someone is fighting for a world title in boxing, they've had 25 fights against a progressively better and better series of journeymen, that sort of stuff. And at the end of the day, they're fighting in a way which is a lot less, a lot more rules, so a lot less chaos factor, just a lot less surprises. So, from my point of view, for an MMA fight, I usually cap it in terms of my most likely scenarios, but even those would be quite broad. I'm not going to say I'm making the outlandish calls like a guy's going to win definitely in the third round or something. I'm just really just working on whatever the book's given me as a payout, as a prop sheet or as a money line sheet, and just working against my opinions. And so far, it's been quite successful, particularly when I've slowly refined my approach, figuring out ways of optimizing certain situations, or give away too much of my idea, I guess.
So are most of your bets, are you honing in on the underdogs, or how do you, given what you said earlier especially, is that one of the areas that you'd rather be on the underdogs more often than not?
Yes, underdogs definitely the spot in the UFC. I'll rarely pick anybody over 1.5. 1.5 for plus fighters. Well, sorry, fighters beyond minus 200 make up about 5% of my bets. Favorites as a whole make up 27% of my bets. So really, I'm just hammering underdogs most of the time. It's a sport which inherently encourages them. They tend to be more successful. I've made the majority of my money on underdog shots. Even if you look at my own record, I've only got 41% hit rate and 20% ROI, which is it's I guess close to horse racing and belief in like philosophy and a lot of other approaches. I guess it's all about just finding whichever roughies can get over the line.
And what about others in this space? Do you have a network of people that bet MMA, or do you know others that do it? And if so, do they do it similarly to you, or is there an array of different styles to attack MMA markets?
There's lots of ways to skin a cat. I know some guys you pretty much play exclusively big favourites, which I wouldn't touch for a poll, and they still make money. I'm not a fan of the strategy, but I'm probably in touch with the majority of the big players. There's enough forums online. It's they're good enough group chats. It's quite a sort of sharing community, I guess. I find it's a lot more. There's a lot because of the I guess money in the space. There's a lot more focus on being really more sharing, more communal than a lot of other, like, AFL betting and all that. People tend to be quite conservative of sharing their edges. I was MMA because there's enough ways of getting an edge. It's kind of just all right. We're all pretty much in it together. As a result, there's lots of ways to get out. Like my way seems to work out better than most people's ways. But there's plenty of ways of making profit. And plenty of ways of making a living in the space. Till the book somehow manages to figure out to make it less chaotic or get a better grip on it. There's enough space, there's enough room and enough money and enough liquidity to really to everyone make decent cash out of it. I don't think it's necessarily the best way. Like, my way's worked out so far, but that could just be variance, to be frank.
So I'm interested whether or not you bet early and, in advance of a fight, whether it's days or even weeks, or do you want to keep your cards close to your chest for later on when you can probably get more money down?
Depends on the fight, depends on the line. I'll just usually I'll hit it pretty much to every point. The issue is that in UFC, particularly if you're going with Australian corporates, you're just not the limits are the limits regardless. So it's not like AFL where it goes from being like $1,000 down to being $50,000 down in the last 10 minutes. Because no, you're getting the same amount down regardless for the most part. You got the openers will tend to have fuck all liquidity, but really once you've gone that sort of 6-day period before fight, you're getting the same amount on regardless. So personally, I'll just take value when I see it.
What about the idea of manipulating lines? Is that something you see in MMA, or is it something that others are able to do, or you can consider betting one side early, knowing that you're going to come back the other side late?
I think it's definitely a possibility. I need access to American markets to do it, because 5 times really sets the price of the rest of the market. I do a lot of arbitrage personally, but that's really just if you can give me free money, I'll take it. Anything to make money, any way of non-fraudulently making money, as far as I'm concerned, whatever, go at it. I'm sure you could definitely get away with it. There's been some jokes about in the group chat how we should all get on 5 times and shoot a line in the opposite direction for taking it back the other way. But the issue is, in the end, you're in a sort of prisoner's dilemma at that point. So, or some idiot who we haven't got in the group chat will bet it back the other way, and so it just goes into a struggle. There's not really I try to think if I've ever really seen that in the space. Not really. There's been a few fixes. You can usually tell when a fix is happening.
So I wanted to ask about that. Take us through that. Obviously, you watch a lot of fights. You have money invested, so you probably got a keen eye on them. You're not at a pub, at midnight watching it after a few beers and throwing the idea that this is fixed or that's fixed. How do you think about this topic in general?
Well, there was one famous, actually fixed, on the record fixed fight in the UFC about 6-7 years ago. There was between a guy called Bang and a guy called Cunts, which are both fantastic last names. It's just, but because that one had a real sharp line move, and you could just see and the funny thing was that because the guy who was supposed to be throwing the fight got cold feet, he ended up winning the fight, and it's probably that was a bit of a shitfest. But it's probably more of a boxing issue than an MMA issue, really. Or at least the UFC issue. There's definitely some in Bellator and the regionals where you can't get as much liquidity on. There have been some iffy results where guys have just looks like they've just given up or whatever. It's such a chaotic sport. It is hard. You can sometimes you see something and go, all right, that did not look right. But it's just guys all over the place. It's hard to really with conviction going to call something fixed. Judging's probably more of the issue, and even that will be quite dependent on how the whims of God and the whims of the judges. It's just you have to just remain aware at all times and assume that nothing's a free lunch. It's probably I know a bunch of guys who are heavy into boxing betting, and they have a lot more issues with that because the way it's organised, because fighters are usually sort of booking their own fights, as opposed to UFC where it's like a unified organisation. You've got a lot more issues of just insane judging. Famously that Wilder Fury, both Canelo Golovkin fights, which is just boxing is corrupt as fuck. Not so much MMA at the moment, in my opinion.
So tell me about your betting and staking on that side of it. Obviously, the handicapping is one thing, and we've spoken a little bit about that. But what about the betting side? Do you review your approach and think, how would I have extracted more money out of the marketplace, or do you take us through some of the things that you do to try and obviously optimize, the high ROI numbers that we've been talking about?
Record everything. I've got a very oversized spreadsheet at this point. So I do regular reviews, see where my it's all categorized by types of bets, when they're placed, whether I'm doing live bets, whether I'm doing on the day, how far out. Categorized by their essentially odds values. I make sure there's no obvious holes. At the moment, my only major hole is probably big favourites, and that's why I've stopped betting them. Because every time I pick a big favourite, they tend to get knocked out in the first round. It's a magical power I have. It's amazing. Somebody will be like a 1.4, and the second I pick them, bang, you're unconscious. But apart from that, which is painful, I've just sort of just trundled along in that space. I've just make sure I've run some data regressions on my own stuff. Really, it's just been consider just keep come into it with the mindset win or learn. And when you look into it at scale, you can usually see. I picked up some trends in what I was doing. Stuff like on the big favourite topic, it's usually better to pick the under in a big favourite fight than it is to pick the big favourite to finish. You get the same price, but less exposure to random knockouts. But that was I paid for that less than tears. So well, I just find usually just be open to change, get a feel for prevailing trends of the sport. And I just make sure I'm doing all my background data and regressions fairly frequently. Most of it's quite just seeing what quantitative data is doing to change bookmaking. But I think there's still some definite consistent opportunities there.
So tell me, from a betting perspective and your perspective, what impact Conor McGregor has. Is he a positive because the limits go up? Is he a negative because there's too much money in the markets and it might be more efficient and more people are betting? Or how does it impact you and what you're doing?
As somebody who has a very, very big bet on Jose Aldo back in the day, I am personally very sadly impacted. I still think that was just pure. That result was just
that quick knockout. You mean?
The issue, my opinion, is that if any knockouts below like a minute, it's quite meaningless because guys just kind of. It takes you like 30 seconds to get into getting punched in the face. You're quite chinny in the first 30 seconds. So if a guy's got this knockout very early, it doesn't really tell you much. So that's always been my frustration in that fight. Saying it's not so much the fact that Aldo lost, it's the fact the way he lost like that, where it just kind of feels like. That was just a 1 in 100 spark out. Like if Aldo had gotten destroyed by Alvarez did, I'd have been absolutely happy. All right, I was wrong. But with the result of McGregor Aldo, it's just kind of it's like if a lightning bolt hit your horse. It's like, well, all right, how the fuck is that got to do with anything? It really depends what you're doing. Like I tended to fade McGregor out on the way up, and Khabib actually finally pushed me back to unprofit on his career. But McGregor's good. He's brought the spotlight into the sport. He's for the most part, and he's quite a limited, okay fighter. So there's definitely opportunities in fading him. Hopefully, whenever he comes back, probably even more. But if he comes back, and really, it's been good to just get more attention into the space. Because MMA tends to move by sort of these waves of popularity. A bunch of guys came in as GSP fans, a bunch of guys came in as Chuck Liddell fans, a bunch of guys came in as Ronda Rousey fans, and really they've all had their impacts in the sports. And just anything which increases the size of the marketplace and increases the amount of liquidity on offer is good.
Does it trickle down into other markets on the same card, for example, when Conor's fighting or Brock Lesnar or some of these bigger names?
Yes, definitely. Increase the buy rate tenfold. The average UFC pay-per-view sells, I think, 150,000 pay-per-views. Conor averages about 1.5 million, and because of that, there's all these people just blind punting on the undercard. Because everybody will go, "Oh, I've got Conor McGregor. Who else would get put in my hacker?" That sort of mindset, which I think it definitely makes a difference. I feel like also it tends to increase diversity of props on offer. It's just really just beneficial. Like even the Whittaker and all that in Australia has really sort of helped. I've noticed I've been able to get about twice on as much on Whittaker cards than I have been able to on sort of non-Whittaker cards lately. It's where the books are just going to go wherever the money is. And the more handle they've got, the more they can absorb sharps. So
tell me about Rousey. What from your perspective as a expert in this space, let's say, what happened to her? Was it expected? Was it a totally unexpected event and she was supposed to win for another couple of years?
I think Nunes' loss was a lot more conclusive than Holly Holm's loss was. It's really just she just never developed striking defense, and she went to get people who could hit her hard in the face, which isn't really a quality which is abundant in women's MMA. But she worked for a while, but there were massive holes there, which she didn't really have the put the effort into fixing. Yeah, that's it. That's the issue in MMA. And once you lose in MMA, it tends to just be a sport which can very quickly get away from you. People figure out where you're weak, and you can fall from the heights very quickly. Yeah, I think the UFC is probably wasn't a fan of it because Rousey was a massive celebrity. But then again, I feel like Holly Holm managed to like. I feel like Rousey had sort of outlived her likability even coming up to that fight. So yeah, it's probably reasonably fortunate in the UFC's point of view. They're just probably not happy she's in WWE now.
Yeah, and what about McGregor versus Mayweather? How did you tackle that one?
I think I put about a good chunk of my savings on Mayweather, so logically.
Yes.
And the way I saw that, there was I was like, there's like a 5% chance of a fix here. just pull a number out my ass, but I was like, all right, it could be a fix, but most likely Mayweather just gonna laugh at this guy. Because again, the background betting market, like the handle they took on that fight was stupid. It was insane. Yeah, because I think even Vegas would have lost what I think it was $60 million if McGregor won, wouldn't they?
Could have even been more. And I think Mayweather was trying to bet on himself as well, which is a good indication that it's probably not fixed.
Exactly. Well, Mayweather $1 million isn't worth that much to him. Yeah, that's the way I see it. It's like, if Mayweather thought he could get another fight over a fix, like, hypothetically, he makes, $300 million in the first one. He gets DQ'd or like soft knocked out in the first one, but he can make a rematch and get half as many people. He's made another $100 million. So losing $1 million isn't a huge deal in the mid bit. But the Mayweather McGregor thing was just this weird phenomenon. I don't think we'll see anything like it for a while.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where almost every person that does this professionally had a huge edge on Mayweather, and the number was going the other way just because of the avalanche of money. And you're right, unless there's some other strange, because it's cross sport, which is also bizarre. You're not going to get Federer playing Tiger anytime soon or something ridiculous like that. So you might be right. It might be the last time that's ever happened.
It was like if LeBron was to join the Cowboys or something like that. LeBron joins the Cowboys and they win total goes up by 3 games. It's like, I'm fairly sure Titans are going to win them 3 games. I think that McGregor Mayweather will just sort of sit there as this weird historical oddity. Like Lesnar obviously coming back later this year, but like at least he was a good wrestler and like heavyweight people a lot better. The skill level in the UFC falls off quite spectacularly once you get past middleweight. So Lesnar getting by on being an insane athlete was not quite as unusual. But yeah, McGregor Mayweather was just this weird part of massive of just the fact that like I remember when that was actually announced, I was like, holy shit, why? And my belief is that Mayweather didn't necessarily fix it, but I believe that Mayweather gave Conor 2-3 rounds before he started really shutting him down in order to sort of rehabilitate Mayweather's public image. Like, I believe Mayweather really felt the need, he could have taken him out in 2 rounds.
Yeah, no, it looked like he was clearly superior, so it was a matter of time, I suppose.
Well, Mayweather probably came out, got hit once, twice, like, all right, he hits fairly hard, but not hard enough, I'm really concerned, so I'm going to put a show on. Because if he felt like he was in danger at any point, he would have gotten his bike. And he would have just spent 12 rounds, being untouched, or he would have, like, immediately knocked him out. Well, he probably saw a way of, all right, I've got the eyes of the world on me again. If I can make this entertaining, whilst taking minimal risks, it really improves my advertising, my image going forward. Pick a guy like that. The last fight for Mayweather where he really had the eyes of the world was Mayweather-Pacquiao, and nobody liked that fight.
So one final question for you about this space and the trajectory. Would you be advising your friends to get involved in MMA? Do you think it really relies on the superstars to carry it forward, or what are some of the things that you're hoping for in this space over the next handful of years?
They've just swapped from started this year. They swapped from Fox to ESPN, which I think has actually made quite a difference. ESPN seems a lot more willing to actually promote the sport. Fox used to have it in there, but just it seemed to be like their 7. It was like filler. Or ESPN's really been pushing it. So I think that you could see the UFC as a product keen to advance a bit more now that they've got a more interested broadcaster. And really, I think combat sports are always going to rely on superstars. Like, my belief is the next truly massive combat sports superstar is going to be when somebody finds a talented Chinese fighter. If you could get a Chinese Pacquiao, that'd be license print money. Imagine if 20% China if China got behind somebody. I know as a gambling market, I don't think it's actually the best one to get into immediately because there's a lot of arbitrages, which is a good spot, but to actually make money outright, you have to watch a lot of it. Compared to AFL and all that, we can it's probably reductive to say just make a model, but it's a lot easier to model. It's a lot easier to get inputs and to get data. Or if UFC data is either irrelevant or just hard to get. I don't know. I think it's opportunities. I think once again you have to keep finding whether new sports coming up are. Like esports was easy money for about 3-4 years at one point. I personally aren't following it as much as I used to be, but I think it's still it's always a trick. You got to usually books are going to get punished in fields where they know nothing about, and just keep an eye on what the people are moving into.
Absolutely. I think that niche aspect is something that works generally across the board. But also, can I ask you about just resources for those who are interested in this space or might have started looking into it? What are some of the websites or things you rely on to help build your knowledge and help your handicapping?
Fight Metric, which is probably the sort of Bible of UFC stats. It's their stat partner. It's all pretty much available for free. BetMMA.tips, a bunch of good resources there, a bunch of good guys. MMA Twitter even, I think a lot of guys are quite friendly, quite willing to communicate and answer questions. There's quite a few good podcasts out, Heavy Hands, MMA Vivisection. Not so much betting, just understanding the sport. I've got my own, which I'll sure might plug in the link because the name's a bit weird. Just watch a lot of fights. The information's all there. It's not like a really sort of confidential boys club or anything.
And where can people find you on Twitter if they want to shoot you a question or a message and find out a little bit more?
For me, Gugabed, which is Gugabed with an extra D for somebody else took the original name, so very sad, but oh well. So I'm about on Twitter. I'm sure I'll probably link to this. Always happy to talk to people about the subject. I think it's a great sport, probably the best one, and there's a lot of money to be made.
Awesome. I really appreciate your time. Like I said in the beginning, a topic I'm not fully familiar with, so it was very interesting to chat about how the world of betting on MMA works.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. Pleasure being on here.